Aside from all the performance of these monsters, there is still a passion behind the wheel, as with conventional truck drivers. And similar to their road colleagues, there is a great solidarity between them. And this was evident back in 1997 when all of the trucks had problems in the stand. It showed a true spirit of the Dakar.
Merci.
Everybody helping each other. Nearly overshot this particular corner. Indeed, many people getting to grips with the road book yesterday in all sorts of ways. Of course, the two-wheel drive Volkswagen having trouble getting itself out of problems and then soon away. However, with vehicles so big and a track so narrow, the inevitable is going to happen. The Mitsubishi mechanics were already helping Martin Blada, the Spanish driver, who was in all sorts of trouble with his transmission. But once it got freed up, he was away. Now, this service car was obviously having trouble at the time telling the difference between the curb and the local fountain. How embarrassing. Pascal Vigneron was one of the most spectacular fallers in the deep sand. He nearly had the side saddle going, but in the end, the horse won. Cyril Reynal was another one to go flying. And so was Alessandro Belsotti. Others, well, they were in trouble as well. Problems, though, certainly indeed for Sindile Ouad, the daughter of the Senegalese president, who, as you can see, had quite a few problems. However, service was immediately at the end of the stage in an area set aside for the Dakar competitors, and the French Dessoude mechanics were all hands on deck to try and repair the stricken Nissan. She says that we stopped in the ruts of the previous competitors and the car just rolled over, but fortunately it rolled on over onto its wheels and we could continue. Vickers van der Venter, though, for South Africa, nor this unfortunate rider right at the end of the stage. I bet you've never seen a bike do a complete 180 with the rider still on it. Almost. Unfortunately, this Dutch crew was in quite a bit of trouble, and they could only ask the other passing competitors to see if they would help. Some stopped, some didn't. We'll try and get a good result. However, it's all gone wrong for not only Luc Alphon, but Thierry Delaven and also Dieter Depping in his VW Tarek. An enormous crash has just happened underneath our helicopter, and the car has been over many, many times. Co-driver Walter Bakhuber.
What's the plan?
What's our plan now?
Yeah, with the car.
Yeah, I don't know at the moment. At the moment we are happy that nobody's really serious injured. That's it, because of the good cage we had, the helmets we were wearing. And just give me 5 more minutes to come back, okay? And then we'll see clear and give you more information. Thank you.
Bakhuber obviously shaken, as you can see, by this enormous crash. And the pair of them very, very lucky indeed. But look at the survival cell of the Tarek, completely intact. So then, now this is De La Verne's Nissan.
Lequel t'as pris, toi, Luc?
And De La Verne going and having a chat here with Luc Alphonse on the left-hand side. De La Verne saying, which stone did you hit? Alphonse saying, the same as you. The problem is that there was a kink here, but the roadbook said it was narrow, but straight.
Donc si les autres sont passés, c'est que nous on est arrivé trop vite dessus, c'est sûr.
We're still waiting this evening here in the bivouac. If Alphonse and De La Verne, it's also not good to stay behind another car in the dust. And then they see their teammate, Isabelle Patissier. Should we stop? Obviously they do. Patissier saying the radiator cooling fan is not working, and so all the gauges went well into the red, and so I had to stop. We'll try and find out what's wrong. She did continue, though. Sugawara in the all-Japanese Hino blasted past. Steve Vandenberg, the Belgian quad rider, who was doing his own repairs to his machine with some magic metal. He has a leak from the sump, and so he's using the putty-like substance, which soon turns rock hard in no time. Yes. And he's got it. He's got it sussed. And off he goes. He continues in the rally today. Other people short of water as the temperature gets warmer and warmer and warmer the further we go south. And what about that massive accident that befell poor Dieter Depping? But what about his co-driver, Walter Bakhuber? He really did get his eye sockets shaken about, and the black eyes coming very, very quickly. A regular occurrence when you have a big accident. He was all right, though. And of course, what about the other two people caught out by that enormous stone that was slap bang in the middle of the road? Luc Alphonse and Thierry De La Verne. Alphonse's X5 BMW had its front suspension completely ripped off. Ditto for De La Verne's Nissan pickup. But once the trucks had arrived, all hands were working on deck. And Britain's Matthew Stevenson, very welcome to see the truck, as was Luke. 5 hours we've been here, and this is the first real day in Africa, and we are as good as out. Fortunately, the pickup points were not damaged, and the wishbones were replaced. In no time at all, De La Verne was moving and away. But as the sun disappeared over the horizon, Luc Alphonse and the mechanics were all working hard to replace the broken wishbones, and eventually the bodywork, get the Zeus fasteners all tightened up, and last but not least, clean the headlights. And they lost 7 hours yesterday. They arrived late into the bivouac last night. Azevedo. Other people, not so much luck. Coma 6th overall, to Azevedo 7th overall. So then, what about the 1999 and 2000 Dakar winner, Jean-Louis Schlesser? The Frenchman stopping his Schlesser and now Ford V6 machine. Jean-Louis out the back of the car, hands on hips, the shoulders go down, the body language says it all. However, he returns into the driving seats, clips up the belts, and gingerly takes off again. But he's going in the other direction. What is going on? Eventually, it just stops. And for the second year in a row, he's out early and en route back to Monaco. We're out. Everything was okay. We were catching Orard and we were just behind him, and suddenly there was a strange noise, and I preferred to stop to avoid destroying the engine. If there is a problem, I want to find it rather than have a load of bits in my hand if it explodes. And Tinso in 18th position today. 98 winner Fontenay stuck in the sand. He's got the sump on the sand, and the front wheels just can't get any grip. So it's time for the barge boards. And he gets moving. Problems also for Jose Maria Servia. He lost a bit of time here, but he finished 13th on the stage today. Never mind horsepower, what about muscle power? Other people found it heavy going. And this is only just the start. Those broken dunes just are impossible to climb if you haven't got enough speed. Other people in real big trouble. 24 hours ago, though, here on the Dakar, other people were in as much trouble.
Ton poignet?
What about your wrist? Says it hurts.
Il y avait pas de plâtre.
Yesterday, I didn't have a cast on it, and it
Donc on avait
took all of
des
the
zones de cailloux.
vibration, and that has meant that today in the sand, it's really starting to swell
J'ai
up.
pris beaucoup de coups hier. Alors qu'aujourd'hui, dans du sable, ça va mieux, mais il enfle tout de même. Enfin, j'arrive
But
à
I'll
conduire.
continue. I'm
Mais
in
là,
trouble
là,
today.
je suis en difficulté.
But he continued. However, it wasn't for long.
Je n'ai plus confiance en moi.
Normally, he says, I'm very confident, but I've lost it all. I need to believe I can do it. But he did, and he continued, and he got to the finish. Ton monsters of the desert sometimes look as if they're going to roll, but the driver just stops before anything untoward happens. Other people had to be towed backwards because this French crew had got a puncture. It's difficult enough changing a tyre on tarmac, let alone in the sand.
You have a problem?
Other motorcycle competitors were helping out their friends.
No. On your right. Okay? Hey, my bike is here. Hey, oh. Okay?
Lawrence Noble with his Rally Raid UK Honda being directed the other way. Other people were digging themselves out. Tons and tons and tons of the stuff, enveloping itself around all of the wheels, all of the time. And even in the middle of nowhere,
Ensuite 31.
those satellite
41.
phones are invaluable. Unfortunately, giving negative news back home. But when you're in real trouble, sometimes it really does count to get out of the car and see where others are going. finding the best line through the dunes is really sometimes the only way. Other people were in trouble and the trucks were there to tow them out. And rule number one about being towed is always keep the tow rope tight. And maybe if you've lost the engine, you've got no servo on your brakes, and it's a very, very rocky ride. Dead weight is everything when you're being towed. But eventually people did get back to the bivouac, sometimes very, very late last. All sorts has been kicking off today with regards to the trucks. Quite a few crashes and mechanical incidents. The first six-time winner, Carol Laprace, wrecking his Tatra, luckily without any injuries.
No tak já my si nejsme
We don't really know what happened exactly. We were quick at the beginning of the stage and then we jumped. Not a big one, but the wheel collapsed and we went over 5 times. Also a problem for De Roy Senior. About 5 kilometres ago we had a big noise after a jump and it's all come to a grinding halt. He damaged 3 shock absorbers in one go. This way. And in the middle of nowhere, you find a control point. You put your time card out of the window, you get it stamped, and the wheels barely stop moving before you're off again. Problems though for other people. Some had flown over some of the broken dunes and were in big, big trouble.
Quelle déception.
Richard Romagny on his own, driving and navigating, he said, it's deceptive. It's crazy, the Dakar.
Dakar,
it's great when you always think about it, but
une
now,
joie de partir toute l'année et puis
after 7 days, there are other things that seem to be a little bit more important in life.
Tu me diras, il y a des choses plus importantes que ça dans la vie, hein, mais bon.
Was maybe getting a little panicked. He had a big crash, and he's unfortunately out of this year's event.
How are you?
It's my shoulder.
What happened?
This morning I got lost, and then you know the normal story. You're trying to catch up, and I ran off the road here into the big sea of waves. It's normal, and I've broken my shoulder here.
Terrible luck for number 120, the Belgian rider. The safety beacon accidentally went off, and you can see the results. Nothing left. He's out of the rally. Also, number 74, Simon Drew's ride, but Fabrizio Mioni really jumping for joy. 6th on the stage today, only 7 minutes back, but caught out towards the end of the stage. And that is a big, heavy bike, and he picks it up as if it was a rag doll. However, it gave a chance for Nani Roma to close in real time, and then the pair of them were together. Different colours, same bike. Roma finishing just ahead of Mioni on the stage by a matter of essentially 2 minutes. However, it's Richard Sankt who dropped back on the stage today. And Ari Vatanen was passed today on the stage by Japan's Kenjiro Shinazuka, the 2 Nissan teammates flying through the sand. Shinazuka's been going very quickly, but only 5 minutes after these shots were taken, there was just an enormous crash that befell Shinazuka. He went over a dune, the car went nose in, and his head's hit the steering wheel. You can see it bent the steering wheel, and Shinazuka and Delazotti quite seriously injured. Delazotti well enough here to say we just went too fast over a succession of quite smooth dunes, and then we flew over another. We landed nose first, and rolled over and over and over.
Une sacrée distance de la dune.
Now Shinazuka is a little more seriously injured with regards to his face. You saw that his head obviously hit the steering wheel. He was airlifted immediately back here to the bivouac in Saba, and the world's best medical crews working overtime. Christian Noble, the medical director of the rally, saying Shinazuka is quite seriously injured. He's been evacuated away from the bivouac now. He's gone to Tunis, and then he will go from there to Paris, where he will be looked at in a hospital. Impressive debut for the brand new car that was literally finished only days before the starts in Marseille on New Year's Day, but even up from the previous day's stage from Gadamez. Other people were having similar accidents to that befell Shinazuka. How high is a dune like that when you go over the end?
T'es dans la voiture, tout est sans dessus-dessous et tu peux pas sortir avec.
You're in the car, he says, you're upside down and you just can't get out. It's terrible with the small windows. You can't get out, and at the same time you feel the fuel dripping onto you. So you have to kill the master switch for the electrics and get out very, very quickly. How steep is that dune? It was a bit close elsewhere. About 2 foot there, I reckon.
Wait 5 minutes, okay? 5 minutes.
On se retrouve à aider les autres.
They had to help each other out. It was just choking the sand. And whilst they got one of the vehicles out, they then used the other 2 to get the remaining 1 out. Team effort all the way. 24 hours ago, and all sorts of people, as always on the Dakar, were in all sorts of trouble. A picture says 1,000 words for this particular truck.
Quand on a pris la butte, on a décollé.
We took off and then we landed on the front axle. It just folded itself underneath the chassis, ripped everything off. How was the jump? It was about 15 meters high. We thought that we would roll end over end as it was right on its nose. So we were very lucky that it landed back on its wheels. Former winner René Mech is still in the rally with daughter Elodie as co-driver. He says here though that we've been surprised and caught out with the tire pressures. They're way too high and we're in a bit of trouble.
Mets du sable en dessous. Non. Là. En dessous ta plaque.
Father and daughter combination, just as Jackie and Vanina Ix did a couple of years back, and it was the daughter who did all the pushing. Covered in dust. She says, I've had enough. And then he decides to leave without me. Other people were out of the rally though. The Dakar is emotional.
Fell down a dozen times on the same spot every time. It's not dislocated, but went out and came back on the place. It's hurting like hell.
And if you think that the dust was bad yesterday, try and do it when the sun has disappeared. Patsy Quick of Great Britain, still the leading lady, but she was caught in the dark.
Absolutely knackered. You want my honest answer? This is the ride from hell. Hopefully we haven't got too much more of it.
She managed to get through, but she was caught without goggles. Caught without lights at times.
believe you stand there with the camera and do that.
She did arrive into the bivouac late last night. This rider's saying it's terrible. How many times have you fallen? I've maybe fallen 6 times in the night, once with Patsy, but it's terrible, as you can't ride at more than 10 kilometers an hour. There was the fesh, the dust, over the top of some very, very slippery stones. And when it's dark, this really is the hardest stage of the rally. But our thoughts are with Covey's family and his friends. Today, a mine exploded underneath the KTM service truck, even though it was on the correct route. The rally has been delayed at this point, as this evening arrangements are being made with the military to clear the area of any further mines. A bivouac has been made for all of the competitors who did not pass this point, and they will advance further when the area is deemed clear. Fortunately, everybody into duty for the Volkswagen team. Teammate Jutta Kleinschmidt, the victor of the Dakar in 0-1, was in trouble with her sister buggy. Now, Onrad knows what he's doing technically. He's very clever. It's essentially his chassis that they're utilising, and he, as always, was there to help. However, as Jutta Kleinschmidt tells us, it was not good news. The turbo is broken, and I'm now waiting for the service truck. I hope that it'll be okay to repair it, and I hope that the engine is okay after this problem. The rally is finished and we're 4 hours behind. And it's all over for DeRoy Jr. A big crash has put him out. On today's stage, Sankt in 11th. Mioni struggled to really egg everybody on, and once into the refueling, there were 3 people in, and then there was Koma and PG Lundmark 5 minutes afterwards. And saying to team boss Heinz Kinney-Gartner, today it's just impossible to go fast. This is a 15-minute neutralised section of the stage, but there was a mistake made by the officials, and Koma and PG Lundmark were let out after only 10 minutes, hence the group of 5 that you saw. And soon Demavius was in trouble. He was on his own in the middle of nowhere with no teammate. But what had happened?
Il y avait des traces.
There were some tracks.
Je suis arrivé trop vite, il y avait
but I arrived far too fast, and there was a white stone on a very white background. We didn't see it, and we've pushed the steering rack back 2 inches.
Il y a toute la crémaillère qui a reculé. Toute la crémaillère a reculé de 5 cm.
And he can't repair it, and Demavius was absolutely done. Cylinder head a couple of days ago, finished in 9th on the stage, and she's 9th overall, whilst other people ran into more fundamental problems. Japanese Le Mans and Formula One driver Ukyo Katayama was stuck.
So sorry for mechanics and team stuff.
Once it was righted using one of our TV crew cars.
C'est un bon, hein? C'est un bon.
Katayama and his co-driver were soon trying to see if it was going to run, but with a lot of sand in the engine compartment, they thought the better of it. Katayama, in the last 6 months, has only climbed Everest and run 2 marathons in the last 2 months, so he thought he better take a rest and wait for his service crew to arrive. Starting the day today, 22-year-old and only 2-time Dakar driver from Holland, Gerardus de Rooij, in the family-built DAF hybrid truck, was leading. Today was supposed to be an easy day, but many people got caught out, and de Rooij was unfortunately one of them. An enormous accident befell the Dutchman, and the front of the cab just went over. It was a biggie. Fortunately, all 3 people lucky to be okay, and the safety straps had just snapped like carrots. Imagine being in there when it went over.
What happened?
Hubert Oriol soon on the scene.
The flag when it was down. Yeah, but the flag was at the hill. Broke? No. We hit the bumper and the cabin just slipped over. So you mean it opened? No. Oh, everything broke off. Everything broke.
His rally was left to his stride. The 45-year-old Italian was absolutely flat out. So much so that he was jumping well over the dunes. But a big crash off camera saw him go well over the handlebars, and he was hurt and the bike was in trouble. He fell at 171 kilometers into the stage. He had to stop to do emergency repairs to the oil cooler, which is positioned at the front of the bike, and also the fuel line. Mioni's 3rd position was in trouble. It was slipping through his hand like sand. And the next person along was France's Jean Brucy. Mioni, though, telling Brucy to go on his way. Brucy in 4th position overall. And Mioni saying, don't wait for me. Don't lose a potential 3rd place for yourself. You go on. Mioni saying 500 metres before the first CP on a very straight bit, nothing very difficult. I was doing about 150 kilometres an hour and I wanted to move the roadbook on by hand. I went over a small stone, but then the handlebars went all over the place, left to right, and I crashed. He arrived back in the bivouac here this evening to an eerie silence. He was very, very lucky to get away with it. He finished 14th today. He's now 3rd overall, but he's 28 minutes back, 3 minutes back of Alphon. Stefan Pederhansel got stuck today. Haven't seen that very often on this year's Dakar. 16 days gone, 3 to go. Could this be Pederhansel's victory for the 7th time? 6 times on 2 wheels. Could this be his first on 4? Now, we haven't seen much nor heard much of Hiroshi Mashioka over the last few days. Everybody's been going for the stage victory, but Mashioka once more running into puncture problems today. Mashioka 7th on the stage. Henri Pescarolo, multiple Le Mans winner, as always with his customary pea green colours, was in trouble right on the descent. Upon returning to the bivouac this evening, They were very concerned about the transmission and the prop shaft. He continued on his way. Multiple two-wheeled winner of the Dakar from Italy, Eddie Orioli. Every day of this year's event, something mechanical has gone wrong, and today has been no different. However, he says the only consolation is at least a bit of lunch. Trouble is, I have to eat it slowly because there's not much of it. Dry humour everywhere. He says we're going to wait for our service truck. However, today is the 17th, and that's an unlucky number in Italy. January the 17th. Way through everybody, but problems for Kabirov. A puncture. And this is no Ferrari pit stop. This is going to take a while. Everything about these trucks is big. The time ticked away as they changed the wheel. And all three members were there to tighten up all of the nuts. All 10 were done up, and soon they were on their way. And even though the crew stopped to mend that puncture, they were still quickish through the stage by nearly 14 minutes. 3 on the bounce for Kabirov. But it's his teammate, Vladimir Chigin, who was second on today's stage. From having had nearly 3 weeks in the deserts, the Dakar finally reaches some sea. The desert touching the sea. And at the head of the order, Mitsubishi with team orders in place. We're going to cruise to the finish today. It was all in hand. Stefan Peder-Hansel leading overall. Or so he thought. Drama hitting Peder-Hansel some 66 kilometers into the stage. A broken radiator meant that all of mission control lit up on the dashboard. The water temperature went sky high. And Stefan Peder-Hansel and Jean-Paul Cotteret were all hands on deck to try and rectify what was a brand new radiator fitted by Mitsubishi late last night. They had a lead of 25 minutes and 50 seconds into the stage this morning. It was touch and go. He says there is a problem with the radiator. We went off the track, but it wasn't especially dangerous. We then saw the emergency light come on, so we know that we had a whole radiator. And the water was continuing to drip out, and his lead was slipping through his hands. But soon he was on his way. And chasing hard up to the first control points this morning. He tried to keep what little advantage he had. It was flat out stuff. It was going to be touch and go for Stefan Peder-Hansel. Luc Alphonse saw that Peder-Hansel was in trouble and let him through, and likewise one of the pro trucks. Everybody was trying to help Peder-Hansel. Masuoka got to the second control point ahead of Peder-Hansel, so therefore Peder-Hansel had made up the time. It was pretty well now, even Stevens. So the panic was over and Peder-Hansel continued in the lead, but again there was a problem with the radiator. The bonnet was up, the drivers were out, Luc Alphonse was coming past for the second time, and once more a panic ensued after the second control point. The bonnet was down, the clips were done up as the water had been put back into the radiator. He was on his way, and still he had an advantage. He was still the virtual leader of the Dakar overall. However, he was caught in someone else's dust, Jutta Kleinschmidt's dust, through one of the deep valleys, and drama once more hitting Stefan Peder-Hansel for the third time in the day, but this time it was a little more terminal. The front left wheel was completely ripped off, the upright was on the floor, the shock absorber was barely held by the brake lines, and Stefan Peder-Hansel's Paris-Dakar was slipping through his hands. He says we tried to get to the end of the stage. We went slowly for about 45 kilometers before the finish, and we were behind Jutta. There was a lot of dust behind her, but we drove slowly. Trouble was, the dust hit all of the rocks. I went straight on and I hit a stone. It's definitely the end for today, maybe the end of the rally. So without drive, there was nothing left but for the Mitsubishi truck to tow him out. He had lost the lead of the Dakar. He finished 40th today, nearly 3 hours off the pace. Masuoka therefore leads the Paris-Dakar overall. He has inherited the lead from Stefan Pederhansel. Pederhansel's luck coming all in one day. Masuoka has had his bad luck so far in this rally, and he now continues to lead overall. Back to the stage though. Mickey Biasion fought through the carnage, and the Italian was the victor on today's stage, taking his first ever Dakar stage victory. The two-time World Rally Champion was in his stride and going well. Trouble was, he broke second gear in the stage and he had to limp through, hoping that the gearbox would last. It did. He was victorious. Jean-Pierre Fontenay, his teammate, was third on the stage today, and he's now in second position overall. Ari Vatanen was 8th today, and he got confused together with his teammate, Kenil de Villiers of South Africa. They went down the wrong valley just as the motorcycles had done, and it was a 3-point turn for de Villiers. De Villiers got lost for 25 kilometres. He probably lost 15 minutes, and he's now lost all chance of getting into the top 5 ahead of Sousa. He was only 6 minutes back of Sousa this morning, and he's about the same behind him this evening. Stefan Orard was second on today's stage. He went like the clappers and just missed out on Volkswagen's debut stage victory in their rookie year. Luc Alphon, the victor a couple of days ago, was in mechanical problems. He was 14th on the stage today. He lost 40 minutes. He says it's the Dakar. 60 Ks before the end, and there's a mechanical problem. But we've got to get going quick to keep ahead of Monterde. Matthew Stevenson working hard to fix the power steering pump. He got to the finish safe and sound. Time to take a breath. Trucks sped through the dust and through the canyons, trying to concentrate all the way to Sharm el-Sheikh. The monsters of the desert had to tackle the hill climb, and through the hairpins they went, and even with their traction they were in trouble. That was how difficult it was out there today on the stage. It was a close call at times for the bike riders. They were also sent tumbling.
Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. If you're interested in more content like this, check out our back catalog of videos. We have hours and hours and hours of compilation videos, podcasts where you'll get news, you'll get my opinion on certain things, which who doesn't want to hear that. Check it out. If you would, like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads. We will be making more videos like this one. So, if you're interested, turn on notifications, like, subscribe, the works. And I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. Love you. Peace.